year is 1944. The Eastern Front is a frozen hell. Mud, smoke, and burning steel cover the battlefield. Soviet artillery thunders across the horizon, shaking the ground like an earthquake. And somewhere in that chaos, a Tiger tank moves silently through the fog. Inside that armored beast sits a young German commander. His name is Otto Carius. And in the coming minutes, he is about to face impossible odds. Otto Carius was not born a warrior. He was born in 1922 in Germany. A quiet and thoughtful young man who originally dreamed of becoming a pharmacist. But history had other plans. When World War II engulfed Europe, Carius volunteered for the German army. At first, he wasn't even a tanker. He served in infantry roles before eventually transferring to the armored forces, the Panzerwaffe. That decision would change his life forever. Because Otto Carius would soon become one of the most feared tank commanders of the war. Carius first saw major combat during the brutal fighting against the Soviet Union on the Eastern Front of World War II. The Eastern Front was unlike any battlefield in history. Millions of soldiers, thousands of tanks, entire cities reduced to rubble. For tank crews, survival often depended on seconds and pure instinct. Carius quickly proved he had both. Calm under pressure, observant, and extremely patient. He developed a reputation for spotting enemy tanks before they even realized he was there. But everything changed the day he took command of one of Germany's most powerful weapons, the Tiger I. The Tiger tank was a monster, nearly 60 tons of steel, a devastating 88mm gun capable of destroying enemy tanks from over 2 kilometers away. And armor so thick that many enemy shells simply bounced off. In the hands of an inexperienced crew, it was just another tank. But in the hands of Otto Carius, it became a predator. Carius believed in patience. Instead of charging blindly into battle, he preferred to stalk his enemies. He studied the terrain. He waited. And when the moment was right, he struck. Soviet tanks would often appear on the horizon, confident in their numbers. But before they could react, the Tiger's cannon would fire. One shot, one kill. Another shot, another burning tank. Carius and his crew became legendary among German armored units, but his most famous battle was still ahead. July 1944, near the small village of Malinava in Latvia. Carius and only a handful of Tiger tanks were ordered to defend the area against a massive Soviet advance. As his tanks rolled into the village, something felt wrong. Too quiet. Then suddenly, enemy tanks appeared from every direction. Dozens of Soviet T-34 tanks surrounded the village. It was an ambush. But Otto Carius did not panic. Instead, he made a split-second decision. Attack first. Carius drove his Tiger straight into the village streets. At point-blank range, his gunner fired. A T-34 exploded instantly. Another tank tried to turn its turret. Too late. Another shot. Another kill. Smoke filled the streets. Burning Soviet tanks blocked the road. Shells slammed into the Tiger's armor, shaking the entire vehicle. Inside the tank, the crew worked like a machine. Within minutes, multiple enemy tanks were destroyed. The Soviet ambush had turned into chaos. And when the smoke cleared, Carius and his small force had destroyed more than a dozen enemy tanks. Against overwhelming odds, it became one of the most famous tank engagements of the war. By the end of the war, Otto Carius was credited with destroying over 150 enemy tanks, an astonishing number that placed him among the most successful tank commanders in history. For his actions, he was awarded one of Germany's highest military honors, the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. But despite his battlefield success, Carius never glorified war. In fact, after the war, he wrote about the brutal reality of tank combat. Years later, Otto Carius wrote a memoir titled Tigers in the Mud. Instead of heroic propaganda, the book described the fear, exhaustion, and chaos of the battlefield. He spoke about lost friends, destroyed cities, and the terrible cost of war. For Carius, survival was never about glory. It was about loyalty to his crew and doing everything possible to bring them home alive. When the war finally ended in 1945, the battlefield legend walked away from the tank. Otto Carius returned to civilian life and fulfilled the dream he once had as a young man. He became a pharmacist. For decades, he ran a small pharmacy in Germany. Many customers never even realized that the quiet man behind the counter had once commanded one of the most feared tanks in history.